dark time.
To the degree that we have adapted ourself into the enframing, to the degree that our self actually fits in the technicity,
Yep.
then it becomes second nature. It becomes the way that it is, and we simply work within that framework.
Yep.
And the beingness, and this is like because as I think about Heidegger, it's this: what is being beyond that? What is being that it can be that, and what else could it be?
Exactly. And right there, what we're saying is that when you confront being, one of the ways that you confront being is that there's something about it that is withdrawn from your intelligibility, or is like goes beyond the limits of your understanding, but it shows itself or stands forth as it is in its not being completely revealed to your mind. So, for example, like intimacy, I think is one of the places where that's still really alive. Is that when people have intimacy, there's this experience of like, it's not an experience of like collapsing distance and being informed about the other in like an app or something. No, it's like you're looking at each other and you see this human being. And you're like, oh my God, you're a someone.
You are more than the thing that I could be informed about.
Exactly.
Like I have a set of ideas of who you could be, but you are actually more than that.
Exactly.
And that intimacy with life, with spirit, with like this aliveness, this being, is that experience itself is more than what we can see in our enframing from the technicity, from the as based in the technology, and right.
That more gives a self that is also more than the one that you are on your phone, right?
Great. So let's take this. I want to take the idea of worlding.
Yeah.
Right. So there's being in the world.
Yep.
Right. Being in the world, that we encounter being through the enframing. And then through what doesn't fit the enframing, and then we have to create a new frame for that which we are encountering, and we world it, like we world the experience within the frame, within the enframe, within the technicity, and when we encounter the chaos beyond the order of the enframing, when we encounter the chaos, we have a choice. We can either demonize the chaos, which we could say is a way of taking an enframing that we already have, an existing story that's within our frame, in which we have good and bad.
Yep.
And we take the ultimate other, that chaos, that thing that doesn't fit in our frame, and we reduce it down into the evil, the bad thing within our frame.
Yep. Exactly.
So we take the fullness of the unknown of the other, and this never more true than in relationship.
Yep, totally.
Right? Never more true than in relationship.
Yeah.
The other, that vast unknownness of the other.
Yeah.
Like, my wife and I, 10 years now.
Yeah.
Right? Dating 17.
Right.
Like, when I'm present to what is unknown in her, when I test what I think is known, and I say, I think you're thinking and feeling this, not like you are thinking and feeling this, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I experience you as thinking or feeling this. Is that accurate? Does that map for you? How would you say it? And then she comes back and says this thing, which I'm like, oh, that is not within the realm of who I thought you were. You have now surprised me. So this chaos, I can deal with this unknown, this thing which does not fit my frame. The beingness of the world, and especially as embodied in another human being, another human being represents being like nothing else, because it can speak, and if we listen, we can. So there's that beingness,
Yeah.
And she appears to me, she occurs for me as in a world.
Uh-huh.
Like I see her and I interpret her into a known frame.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's in the world. I am worlding her.
Right. Right.
Right? That is an action that I am doing. I am actively interpreting her as something, as if the something that I'm interpreting her as actually encapsulates who she is.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm taking this vastness, this unknownness, which is so much deeper than my capacity to imagine her.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm pretending, I'm worlding her as if she's something that I can know.
Yes.
Right? And then I'm confronted with when I'm aware of it. And when I seek it. And this is the hero going out into chaos, looking to go beyond order, to go beyond order, to go beyond the tyranny of it's only this, and everything that I know fits into my existing structures.
Yep. Yep.
That this being is beyond my worlding.
Yes.
And that
yes.
encountering chaos as the hero
Yes. Yes.
means challenging the order.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like,
versus you challenging her forth to reveal the self-saming of your own world, right? Like you challenge like your world, you could say that your world is untechnological in the sense that it's given by a horizon of unknowability that you actually move toward, right? And what we're talking about, and I think this is part of what is speaking to people about Peterson in a way that like maybe they wouldn't put this way, but I've been thinking about this, is that in so many ways, the way he's presenting life, and this is where I think he's really, where I see him in Heidegger doing very much similar things, is he's presenting life in a very untechnological way, right? He's saying like, no, it's not about optimizing yourself and knowing for sure. It's actually, if you want to be alive, like handle your shit, get ordered, right? But so that you can stand up and choose the chaos you're going to move toward. Feel what moves you and let the unknown grab you and grip you, like, and give yourself to it voluntarily. So
yeah, go, continue.
So as you're talking about that, I just knowing you, right? What the question I have is, when you go, there was this point where you went, oh, so you're like, you were just like animating a conversation with Min, and you said, so it's like this, right? That you said right, is speaking to some kind of awareness that there's a being, right, that is other than what you think already. So there's already an openness to you. But when she says the other thing, what is your world? Like, what happens to your world, right?
Oh, okay, so okay, great. So let's get back to Peterson and cleaning your room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And Peterson's entire
totally
mysteriousness of life. The thing that I love about his, what he might call his religious perspective, is that this thing is so mysterious that to the degree that we think that we can know it through science, we're missing something.
Yeah.
To the degree that I think that I can understand my wife.
Yeah.
Like, and really get her essence. I can predict parts of her personality. Like, I know her well enough to guess how she's going to respond with relative accuracy to various kinds of things.
Right.
But to really get her when she's alive, the more I clean my room, in this metaphor of the more I look at myself and notice where I am disordered.
Yeah.
Right? And I love how he puts it. He says, there's things that you know that you need to do that you're not doing. Right? There are ways in which I know myself, my world is disordered.
Yeah.
Like I'm not handling something that I know I ought to handle, the not handling of which causes me pain, suffering, and a lack of power.
Yep.
If that's my room and I clean it, it's about starting with the things that I know I can put in order and clean up so that I then have the resources available to me. So I have the power available. So I have the alignment to push, right? So when I do that, I become available to experience what's new, what's deeper, what's better. And I become available in two ways. Like I think about intimacy. I say intimacy is like, I break it down into 3 steps. I share something vulnerable. I share something that I have not worked out so thoroughly that I'm like solid about it. I share something that and I define it, that when I share something vulnerable, it's something that if you were to judge me about it, it would hurt. Right? It's something about myself with this, which is sufficiently raw, sufficiently unprotected, sufficiently new to my own consciousness, sufficiently new to the process of sharing that I don't have, it's not tough, it's not facile. So I'm sharing something vulnerable. I'm sharing something which is actually alive for me. In myself, some part of myself. And then the second step is I feel understood by you. I feel like you actually get it. Like you know what I'm talking about. My experience and my articulation gets reflected through you such that I'm like, this thing that I'm experiencing actually lives in our shared reality, our shared space. So I share something vulnerable.
Totally.
I feel understood. Like you might understand me, but if I don't feel understood, that loop isn't complete. So I share something vulnerable. I feel understood and I feel accepted. I feel that you think that I'm a good person, that I have a reason for doing it, that you can understand and go, yeah, I get it.
Right.
Like you're a good person. So when that happens, when I share something vulnerable, I feel understood and I feel accepted, I'm going to experience intimacy. Okay. And there's 2 sides to that. One, I have to have my room clean enough that I have enough self available, that I have enough consciousness available, that I can look into myself, notice what I'm experiencing, and share it with you. And I have the courage. I have the courage to share it with you because I've got enough of my shit in order that I can risk it. I have the bandwidth available, the mental bandwidth available, the mental emotional bandwidth, and I have the courage to share it. That provokes intimacy. But then you have to have your room clean enough that you can actually give me the bandwidth to understand me and accept me and not just get triggered by what I'm saying and go into your world, right? Because, I mean, what happens most often in conversation, unfortunately, is somebody shares something and instead of the other person going, oh, let me see if I got that right. Oh, you're saying this? Oh, I get it. Oh, I know you now. I feel connected. I accept you. I get it. Instead of doing that, right? You share something with me and I go, well, I don't know about that. And now I make it about me. So you don't feel understood. You don't feel accepted. And then I share and then you go, well, you're not listening to me. And then and there's no intimacy. So when you ask me, like, what happens when I listen to her from the perspective of wanting to discover what's new? Like when I say, hey, I think you're feeling this. Is that right? Versus, you're feeling this, aren't you? Right? And it's that. I have cleaned my room enough that I'm available
Right.
to discover her.
Yeah.
To I have enough me and the desire available to discover her, or I have enough me available that I say, you know what, I want to tell you something about me.
Yep.
I'm going to either provoke intimacy, and intimacy is always, the feeling of intimacy is a worlding beyond the current inframing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like that's what intimacy is. It's like you go deep, you're going deeper, you're going into a new level of understanding of self, of connection.
Yep.
So cleaning your room, right, makes you available to encounter being, to encounter chaos, not in order to call it evil so that you can become a self in relationship to it, and now you've got a safe self because you made a bad guy, and the more you make the bad guy, the more you become the good guy. And it's all about polarizing against chaos by making it into the evil dragon. No, you're after the dragon's treasure.
Yep.
Right? You're out there looking for the unknown. And this is why the hero's journey is always a journey into the unknown, the beyond, where there's absolute danger. Because vulnerability, when you share vulnerably, most of the time you don't get intimacy.
Right.
You get attack.
Right.
Okay, so now Jordan Peterson comes out in the world, and he has been on this journey of, look, I want to clean my room. I want to study the human psyche in its ugliest places so that I can confront it. Like in the room of his psyche, he's like, I want to study totalitarianism and prison guards and gulags and concentration camps and mass murderers. Because I want to get into the room of my psyche so that I can clean it up, so I can recognize who I am and who I'm not. And now I'm here, and I've got something to say, and I'm going to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And like in a relationship, like in an intimate relationship, because of the new technology, which allows for his lectures to go online or his long-form interviews to go online, this new thing, when he shares, it's like an intimate conversation. There's this new possibility.
Exactly.
And some people go, oh, I understand.
Yep.
And I accept you.
Yep.
And that creates intimacy between him and his audience. And so he gets people who love him.
Yep.
And it's hilarious because what do they come up? They come up to him, and he reports over and over. They say the most intimate things. Like, let me share my vulnerable truth with you. Here's who I have been. I have been just shit. Here's the places where I have just been ugly, but I'm sharing it with you because I trust you. You've been intimate with me. I want to be intimate with you. And it brings him to tears. And other people demonize him.
Yep.
They polarize. They become the good guy, making him bad, and they project all of the badness onto him. And it's infuriating